And it says, now when he had ended all his sayings in the audience of the people, he entered into Capernaum, which is Jesus. It says, and a certain centurion's servant, who was dear unto him, was sick and ready to die. So a centurion is he's sort of the leader of, it's actually 100 Roman soldiers. And he's in command of those 100. And Capernaum was at the northwest of they were border town of the Sea of Galilee. It was one of the richest towns that surrounded the Sea of Galilee, and it was sort of large, had a lot of commerce coming in and out, and that was probably one of the reasons why there was a large amount of Roman soldiers at this particular city. But when you read verse 2, and it says that the servant was dear unto this centurion, usually a servant they were expendable. They could have been easily replaced as they was more or less slaves, and a servant didn't have any rights at all. But for this centurion, this servant was dear to him. So, for someone to be dear to you, you have to have a relationship with them. Right. You have to talk to them.
You're right,
you just don't sit there and you get up and say, some people would in those days. They treated him as a servant, but I imagine that this centurion treated him a little different. That he knew him. Probably knew where he came from, what his predicament was. Probably took care of him because he might have had a little sympathy for him, and he might have had a lot of years with this servant. The servant probably knew that centurion better than anybody in that whole city, than any of these Roman soldiers knew him, because this man lived with him. He was his servant. But the centurion found that his servant was sick and was ready to die. And when he heard of Jesus, he sent unto him the elders of the Jews, beseeching him that he would come and heal his servant. Now this is a Roman soldier. He knew of Jesus only through hearsay, and probably through word of mouth through the town.
You're right, Tom.
So he found himself in a predicament. He knew that he couldn't help his servant, but he knew of a man named Jesus that could.
You're right, Tom.
He knew that he had heard about this man called Jesus and that he had healed others. He heard what was going throughout the land. So what he do? He used some of his influential power. He got the elders of the Jews. Now, normally when they speak of the elders of the church, we would see the high priest and things of that sort. But he said elders of the Jews, which, with him being a centurion, he was probably like the police officer of Capernaum. So, he had influences with some of the higher ups in the Jewish populace. Some of your probably more wealthier ones, and probably what we would call the mayor of the town, or maybe influential people who owned businesses or had some of wealth. So he wanted the elders to go to Jesus and wanted him to bring Jesus unto him. And it says, and when they came to Jesus, they besought him instantly, saying that he was worthy for whom he should do this. For he loveth our nation, and he hath built us a synagogue. Their intentions was on public relations. They had it in mind, Jesus, this is a good man. We have good relations with him. We talked with him. He's built us a synagogue. This was more of a public, how would you say it? There's a word I'm trying to find. It was more, a camaraderie. They wanted, let's scratch his back and he'll scratch ours. It was more of you would think of a business opportunity than anything. They wanted to keep the peace because, Roman soldiers, they were there policing. They wasn't there as friends. They would get their orders from Rome. If there was any uprising, they had to deal with it. If they didn't want any uprising and they wanted the flow of money to go back to Rome. You start interfering with the flow of money that would go back to Rome, then you'd have problems. So if you have a good working township that was prosperous and keeping the peace and everybody done what they were supposed to, and then the spoils of the town would go to Rome, everything was good. But if you had an uprising, then eventually it would affect the flow of money. And then that's when Rome would be looking onto this centurion as like, what's going on? So there's a business side to this. And they said, because he loves our nation. So this centurion, you could see he had a humble heart. He got along with his servant. He knew his servant. And he knew that the people that was in this town. And he helped them. He helped build them a synagogue. But the most important thing that we want to look at than anything is that he didn't know Jesus, but he heard of Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And he loved his servant enough that he wanted Jesus to come to him because he had the faith that I know that, and I've heard that this man can and could do it. It says, then Jesus went with them, and when he was now not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to him, saying unto him, Lord, trouble not thyself, for I am not worthy that thou shouldest enter under my roof. It's like some of the housewives here. You get caught up with your kids or something. Your kids come running and they say, "Could so and so come over?" Or say, "Won't you come over?" And then all of a sudden, it's like a slap in the face. You forget your house ain't clean.
Toby,
It's dirty.
Toby, that centurion is a little bit like John the Baptist when he said, "I ain't worthy."
Mm-hmm.
Till you lose your faith.
And there's another thing, the Pharisees gonna charge Jesus with, why should he fellowship with the centurion, you know? Mm-hmm. He went in there to show the Pharisees that the love abounds.
Yeah.
And he wasn't gonna hold it just to the people that knew him. He wanted to let other people know also.
Well, when you have a centurion, he is in a place of authority, and but he realized what really grasped you is that he wasn't worthy. He was recognizing Jesus not as a prophet. He wasn't recognizing Jesus as a healer. He was recognizing Jesus as the Son of God.
Yes,
You're
sir.
right. You're right, Toby.
And then in his mind, he's thinking, I'm not worthy to stand in front of this man. The Jews saw Jesus as a prophet, a teacher, but they didn't recognize him as the Son of God. God in the flesh. This centurion did. He knew what he could do. He knew that no man could do these things except for him being the Son of God. The Messiah that had been prophesied years before. And he says, saying unto him, Lord, trouble not thyself, for I am not worthy that thou shouldst enter under my roof. Wherefore neither thought I myself worthy to come unto thee, but say in a word, and my servant shall be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, having under me soldiers. And I say unto one, Go, and he goeth. And to another, Come, and he cometh. And to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. He felt unworthy to stand in front of Jesus. And I mean, and we got to think back of us as sinners. How unworthy that we always thought our sin was too big, or we were so unworthy to give our hearts to God. But after the fact, He wants us, no matter how much the sin is, He wants us. That there is no surmountable sin, but the devil will try to trick us as, you're not worthy. But we are worthy. We are saved by the grace of God.
Yes.
And here this centurion, he said, I'm not worthy for you to go. But I know that you are God. You are God in the flesh. And he's sort of given you an example of what his mind is thinking. When orders come from Rome, or if you're in the military, and the orders come from the general or the Department of Defense to the generals, to the generals and on down, those orders get carried out. You don't add or you don't subtract to them. If you like it or not, if you think it's morally correct or not. If they say wipe it out, you wipe it out. Whether there's going to be women, children, when they have certain bonds, if they say carry it out, you carry it out. Whether the consequences, you follow that order to the T. He's telling Jesus that he knows what authority is, but he knows what authority is over him as well. When orders come to me, I do them. But when I do these orders, a lot of times he's telling the people under him to carry it out. So he knows what orders is, and he knows how to give orders. And he knew that if he talked to Jesus and sent orders or requests to Jesus, that if Jesus wanted it done, that it would be done. That he had the power over disease, over this sickness, over anything. That whatever Jesus spoke, it would happen. It would not be to the left. It would not be to the right. It would be done as Jesus wanted to be done. And he knew that. That was the faith that this man had. I can just imagine. I've been a centurion all my life. I've been raised in military since I was a child. And I know what orders is. I know how to give them and I know how to take them. And I know that you are the Son of God. And if you say it, it'll happen. You are the creator of this world. If you say it, it will happen. You are the healer to these people. You are the Savior. That's what faith he had, and never met him, but only to hear the stories that probably ran through the town. There was no books to read. You gotta, for everybody just to pick up a book and research Jesus. This is all went through by mouth.
Toby, do you think that maybe that centurion, or he was maybe like comparable to our governor?
Yeah, sort of like the governor, he was when Rome, with the soldiers, when they would take over the town, they were like the police. And he was sort of like the governor, and he made sure that everything went to kosher. And if there was any uprising,
He was the boss, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was more or less the governor. And that was his little town, and he took care of it. As they would pay their taxes. He would send it to Rome, but he was make sure that peace was kept. And that was more or less his job. So he had heard of Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And he knew the power that Jesus had. And and just like he quoted here, I know what orders are. If you say it, it will happen. It says, when Jesus heard these things, he marveled. I mean, he was astonished. He couldn't believe that this centurion had the concept and the mind that even his disciples didn't have. Because people had at this time had not grasped that I am the Son of God. That
You're right.
whatever I say will happen.
You're right, Toby.
They hadn't really grasped it. He said, he marveled at him and turned him about and said unto the people, and just like Jesus, he used this for a teaching tool. So here you have the messenger come and tell Jesus that he said that he wasn't worthy for you to come to his house. And how are we like that? We feel like we're not worthy to be a Christian. And we're not capable of being a Christian. But he's saying here where you are, that he loves you, that he wants you. So he turns around to the people. He says, he turns about and said unto the people that followed him, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. That this man had that much faith that only thing he had to do was speak it and it would happen. That was faith. How are we lacking in our faith? In our daily life? We serve an almighty God.
Yes.
And it seems like every time we turn around, somebody or someone is facing sickness. But we serve a God that if he says it, it could be healed. If we have faith.
You're right, Toby.
And it says, and they that were sent returning to the house found the servant whole that had been sick. So here they are. They go tell Jesus. Say, well, we did our job. Let's go back and tell the centurion that we fulfilled his orders. And when they get back to the town, to the house of the centurion, the man was already healed. That's how Jesus can work through our lives.
You're right, Toby.
Here we can read, we can study, but our faith still is not like the centurions who had no education about Jesus except for his word. He loves us. And through his word and our dedication, we read and study his word for our faith to be renewed, for our faith to be upheld, for it to grow. And with this same faith that this centurion had, we can see Jesus work. Mm-hmm. It's through and by our faith. It's such a blessing when you study the Word and you read these healings and these stories of Jesus. You just get so uplifted that such a man.
You're right, Toby.
Could have that much faith. And here we are. We know the story from the beginning, the middle, and the end, and we still don't have that faith that centurion had. But nevertheless, whether that man was a Jew, whether he was a centurion, because to the Jewish people, that centurion was a Gentile. And he was going to go to his house. God is love, and God is for everybody. And I beg you that if you felt like you are unworthy,
Bless you, Toby.
that you let Jesus come into your house.
You're in the right spot, ain't you, if you feel unworthy?
You're right.
If you feel unworthy, if you talk to all of us, we all felt unworthy.
Come on, Toby.
We all felt weak.
Oh, yeah.
We all felt like I can't do it.
Yeah. Bless you.
just like the centurion did. He said, don't come to my house.
Bless the Lord.
It could have been immaculate, because that centurion's house was probably more magnificent
Fanciest
than
in the
anybody
town,
that was
yeah.
in the town of Capernaum, because he was in the best.
Yeah,
And he said,
yeah.
don't come to my house. He couldn't even stand in the presence of it.
Probably had a show place, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the best.
Jesus wanted a humble heart.
Yeah.
You're right, Truman.
But he said, I'm not worthy. I don't want, couldn't even stand in front of him. He recognized him as the God in
Yeah,
flesh.
amen, buddy.
And he knew that he could help his servant.
Yeah, buddy.
He wasn't his wife, wasn't his kids. He was just
Somebody special to you.
a servant. But he wanted help. Now, how much have we seen ourselves? We all feel that unworthiness. And Jesus has saved us, renewed us, and we have failed him. And then when the devil comes back and attacks you, say, I told you wasn't worthy. But we've got victory.
Amen.
His love is everlasting. But he's there for you. You just got to give him a chance. The devil don't want you to submit to nothing. As long as he can make you feel that you're not worthy, you'll go to hell unworthy. Because he'll keep you in that mindset. He wants to keep you weak. But Jesus is strength.
Amen.
He's love.
Amen.
He has forgiveness for you.
Oh, yes.
Praise the Lord.
And he's there. The only thing you got to do is open the door and let him in.
Outstanding, Toby.
I mean, it's so simple. The world makes it hard.
Yeah. Church makes it hard.
Yeah,
It's not complicated.
it's not complicated. And I'll tell you, I'm like Paul. I fail him daily. In my mind. But he still loves me. And he loves you.
Yes, Toby.
Just like he loved that centurion. Just like he loved that servant.
Yeah.
There's nobody that he doesn't love. And he wants everyone to make heaven their home.
Bless you, buddy.
Amen.
It's the only thing you got to do is take that first step of faith.
You're right, Toby.
Now, you saw what big faith can do. That centurion had more faith than all of Israel. Just have that little bit of faith. Take that first step and say, I'll give it to you, Jesus. Let him be your healer. Let him be your God. Let him be your friend. Let him be your comforter. Let
Right.
him be whatever you need, whatever is aching in your heart, whatever you feel that is lacking, he'll make it whole.
Bless you.
Toby,
Bless you, buddy.